Ah, there it is. Finally live. Should be live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I would hope so, at least. It says that I'm live, and everyone knows the internet doesn't lie. So there's that. So it's time for story time. So welcome. I'm glad you're here. As soon as people start pouring in and leaving comments, I will give some shout-outs and the like. But welcome to story time. Tonight we resume with more Russian fairy tales. The first one of the evening is Ivan the Cow's Son. I did not prepare an original story, so we will just do a few Russian fairy tales tonight and probably call it at a few. We're already about halfway through the book. I can't just... I can't abide by the idea that we would finish so soon. So I will narrow it down a little bit at a time. Just sort of whittle it away so that we only do a little bit at a time. I want to savor them. Plus, what's the point in reading 3 stories back to back to back and having them all be the exact same story when we could give it a week and you'll be like, that seems familiar, but it won't seem like the exact same story like some that we do. Whatever. We'll just do as we do and keep going on through these stories. See what I did there? It was semi on purpose, a little bit not. Either way, let's move on. Let's get on with it. First things first, join the Storybook group on Facebook, or if you prefer, you can friend me. Brett Piccone, easy to find. Storytime, 2 words, exclamation point at the end. Next order of business. Like this video on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. Be Piccone1, that's the channel. It's important, you should know. And third, last but not least, you can also now follow me on Twitch as well. Brett Doesn't Game, all one word. No spaces, no punctuation, no apostrophes or anything like that. Just Brett, 2 T's, Doesn't Game. Now, we are through this, and we are into the first story about Ivan the Cow's Son. Yes, Ivan, such a unique name, not one we hear often in these Russian fairy tales. We hear Ivanko, Ivanushko, but rarely is it ever shortened down to just Ivan. Okay, that's a lie. It's a Ivan. So, let's just get on with the story, shall we? In a certain kingdom, in a certain land, I haven't heard that before, there lived a king with his queen. They had no children, and after they had lived 10 years together, the king issued a call to all the kings, all the cities, all the nations, and even to the common people, asking who could cure the queen of her barrenness and make her bear a child. How does he know that she's the one who's barren? How does he know he's just not shooting out any swimmers? It's possible. It's possible, king, that perhaps your custard, as it were, is lacking in yolk. Princes and boyars, wealthy merchants and peasants gathered in the king's palace. He gave them meat and drink till they were drunk, and then began to question them, but no one knew. No one could say how the queen might be to bear a child. No one except the son of a peasant. Oh, I bet he knew how to impregnate her. The king, those peasants, those dirty peasants. The king gave him a handful of gold coins and told him that in 3 days he must give the answer. Well, although the son of the peasant had undertaken to cure the queen, he had not even dreamed of what he should suggest, so he went outside the town and began to ponder deeply. He met an old woman who said, "Tell me, peasant lad..." Oh, and there's an illustration here. What are you thinking about? Apparently he was thinking about this fish. Nope, turns out, he answered her, "Be quiet, old hag, don't annoy me." What a bastard. Respect your elders, damn it. Especially in Russia. They'll fuck you up. But she ran after him and said, "Tell me your secret thoughts. I am old. I know everything." So that's exactly how it works. He thought that perhaps he had been wrong in offending her. You think that perhaps she really knew something after all. Not everything, and of course she knew something. And said, "Little grandmother, I undertook to tell the king how the queen might be made to bear a child, but I do not know it myself." "Oh, but I know. Go to the king and tell him to have 3 silken nets prepared. In the sea beneath the king's window there is a pike with golden wings, which always swims in front of the palace. When the king catches the pike and cooks it, and the queen eats of it, she will bear a child. So apparently all you have to do to have children is eat a golden fish. That's a pro tip for those of you seeking to have kids. Wink, wink. The young peasant himself then went to fish in the sea. When he cast in the 3 silken nets, the pike leapt out, tearing all 3 nets. He cast in the nets for the 2nd time, and again the pike tore them. Then the young peasant took his belt and the silken kerchief from his neck, tied up the nets, and cast them in for the 3rd time. This time he caught the pike with the golden wings. He was overjoyed and brought it to the king. The king ordered the pike to be washed, cleaned, fried, and served to the queen. A fish fry. That's classy. It's very classy. Fish fry. It's fit for a queen. Good on you, king. This time he caught the... Oh, no, I read that. Yes, there we are. Whoa, nope. Yep. Fried and served to the queen. The cooks washed and cleaned the fish and threw the entrails out of the window. A cow swallowed these entrails. As soon as the cooks had fried the pike, a scullery maid put it on a dish, took it to the queen, and on the way tore off a wing and tasted it. Thus all 3 of them, the cow, the scullery maid, and the queen, became pregnant on the same day, at the same hour. So, if you don't want to get pregnant, do not eat the golden fish. Noted. Speedily a tale is spun, with much less speed a deed is done. After some time the dairymaid came out of the cattle shed and reported to the king that a cow had given birth to a human babe. The king was very much surprised, and he had no sooner heard this news than he was told that the scullery maid had given birth to a boy exactly like the cow's son, and a few minutes later it was reported to him that the queen had given birth to a son as like the cow's son as one pea is like another. They were all wonderful boys. They grew up by the hour as other boys grow by the year. In 1 hour they were as others in 1 year. You just said that. In 3 hours they were as others are in 3 years. You said that a slightly different way, but you already said it. Oh well. When they came of age, they sensed in themselves a mighty and heroic strength. They came to their father, the king, and asked his permission to go to the town, to see people, and show themselves to the world. He granted them permission, told them to behave soberly and peacefully, and gave them as much money as they could carry. Dangerous thing to do with. I'm imagining they're teenagers, if it's by the hour here. And so the good youths set out. One was called Ivan the Prince, the other Ivan the scullery maid's son, and the third Ivan the cow's son. How original. And nicknamed also Burya Bogatyr, champion of champions. And they walked and walked, but did not buy anything. Then Ivan the Prince saw some glass balls and said to his brother, no, not brass balls, glass balls. Brothers, let us each buy a ball and throw it upward. Whoever throws it highest will be our eldest. The brothers agreed and cast lots as to who would throw first. The lots fell out in favor of Ivan the Prince. He threw high, but Ivan the scullery maid's son threw still higher, and Burya Bogatyr threw the ball so high that it vanished from sight. Oh, hiccup. Excuse me. That was a good-tasting burp. Yeah, so good. That it vanished from sight, and he said, henceforth, I am your eldest. Ivan the Prince grew angry. What do you mean? He said. You are the cow's son, yet you want to be our eldest? Ivan the cow's son answered him, it must be God's will that you should obey me. They set out on the road, and came to the black sea. In it, the sea serpent was wallowing. Ivan the Prince said, brothers, whoever of us subdues this serpent, he will be our eldest. The brothers consented. Ivan, the cow's son, said, subdue him, Prince Ivan. If you succeed, you will be our eldest. Prince Ivan began to shout in order to subdue the serpent, but the serpent only grew more ferocious. Then Ivan, the scullery maid's son, tried to subdue him, but failed also. Just want to point out, I'm surprised I have no comments yet on the video. None from Facebook, none from YouTube, none from Twitch, none from anywhere. disappointed in all of you. If you would like a huzzah, you must comment. It's vital that you do so. Then Ivan, the scullery maid's son, tried to subdue him, but also failed. Then Burya Bogatyr shouted and threw a stick into the water, and the serpent vanished in a trice. He said again, I am your eldest. Prince Ivan grew angry and said, we do not want to be the inferior brothers. Then I shall leave you, said Ivan the cow's son, and he returned to his native land. The two brothers went on straight ahead. When the king learned that Ivan the cow's son had returned alone, he ordered him to be imprisoned in a fortress for 3 days. He was not given any food or drink. The mighty champion knocked with his fist on the stone wall and shouted in a mighty voice, ask your king and my foster father why he does not feed me. Your walls and bars are no bars to me. If I want to, I can smash them all with my fist. This was straightway reported to the king. The king came to him and said, what are you bragging about, Burya Bogatyr? My foster father, why do you not feed me, and why have you starved me for 3 days? I have not committed any misdeed. But what have you done with my sons, your brothers? Ivan the cow's son told him everything that had happened. My brothers are alive, he said. They are safe and sound and went straight ahead. The king asked, why did you not go with them? Because Prince Ivan wants to be the eldest, although the lots fell out, making me the eldest. Very well, then, I will send for them. Ivan the cow's son said, no one except myself can overtake them, for they went to the land of the dragons, to the place where dragons with 6, 9, and 12 heads come up from the Black Sea. The king begged him to go after them. Ivan the cow's son made ready for his journey, took his battle mace and his steel sword, and left. Speedily a tale is spun, with much less speed a deed is done. Repeating ourselves, are we? That's not common in these stories. Ivan the cow's son walked and finally overtook his brothers near the Black Sea, near the White Hazelwood Bridge, and by that bridge there stood a post, and on it was written that this was the place where the 3 dragons always come out of the sea. Good day, brothers, he said to his brothers. They were overjoyed to see him and said, good day, Ivan the cow's son, our eldest brother. And he said, I see that what is written on the post is not to your taste. He looked around, and near the bridge he saw a little hut on chicken legs, with a cock's head turned with its front to the wood and its back to them. Ivan the cow's son cried, little hut, stand with thy back to the wood and thy front to us. The little hut turned around. They entered it and found that the table was set with meat and drink in abundance. In the corner stood a bed of timber, and on it lay a feather bed of down. Burya Bogatyr said, you see, brothers, without me you would not have had any of this. They sat down and dined, then lay down to rest. When they arose, Ivan the cow's son said, brothers, tonight the 6-headed dragon will come out of the sea. Let us cast lots as to who shall stand guard. They cast lots, and the task fell to Ivan the scullery maid's son. The cow's son said to him, mind you, a little pitcher will jump out of the sea and begin to dance before you. Do not look at it, just spit at it and smash it. Poor little cute pitcher. Oh well. When the scullery maid's son came to the sea, he fell asleep. But Burya Bogatyr, knowing that his brothers were unreliable, went out himself. He walked on the bridge, tapping time to time with his stick. Suddenly a little pitcher jumped up before him and began to dance. How did he know? The cow's son spat upon it and smashed it to smithereens. Did you like how I covered that yawn so elegantly? Then a duck quacked. Where did the duck come from? Okay, so the cow's son spat upon it and smashed it to smithereens. Then a duck quacked. The earth opened, the sea surged up, and out of the waves crawled Chudo Yudo, a sea monster. That's quite a name. It was the 6-headed dragon. It's pretty cool, actually. He whistled and shouted with a mighty hiss in a truly powerful voice, magic steed, horse of my need. I like the rhyming. Stand before me as leaf before grass. The steed ran out. The earth shook. Whole hayricks flew from under his hooves. From his ears and nostrils thick smoke rolled. Chudo Yudo mounted the horse and rode toward the White Hazelwood Bridge. Suddenly his steed stumbled over him. No, under him. Sorry, not over him, under him. It's very important. Why do you stumble, carrion flesh? The dragon asked. Do you scent a friend or an enemy? The good steed answered, "That is an enemy, Ivan the cow's son. You lie, carrion flesh. Flesh, not fresh. Damn. You lie." Shit, I lost my place. Ah, there we are. "You lie, carrion flesh. Even his bones were not brought here by a raven in a bladder, and he himself is certainly not here." I have no idea what that means. "Ah, Chudo Yudo," said Burya Bogatia. "No raven has brought my bones. I walked here myself." What a brave bastard. The dragon asked him, "Why have you come? To woo my sisters or daughters?" Wow, those would be some brass balls. "No, brother, I came to meet you in the field, not to become your kin. Let us fight." That is Russia. Burya Bogatia swung his battle mace and cut off 3 of the dragon's heads. He swung again and cut off the other 3. He cut the dragon's trunk in pieces and cast them into the sea, hid the heads under the white hazelwood bridge, tied the horse to the legs of Ivan the scullery maid's son, and put the steel sword by his head. He himself went back to the little hut and lay down to sleep as though nothing had happened. Ivan the scullery maid's son awoke, saw the steed, and was overjoyed. He sat upon him. I covered another yawn. I am so cool. Oh, hello, Jean. Thank you for joining. Huzzah! By the way, have we gotten any likes on Facebook? Let's see. Oh my. So many notifications. Whoa! That is a lot of notifications. I'm just checking to see if any of them happen to be about story time. So but anyway, while that loads, let's see. Where was I? Ah, yes. He awoke, saw the steed, and was overjoyed. He sat upon him, rode to the little hut, and cried, "Burya Bogatia, you told me not to look at the picture, but I did look, and the Lord gave me his steed." Ivan the cow's son answered, "Giving you the steed, but promised us more." The next night it fell to Prince Ivan's lot to stand guard. Burya Bogatia told him that the same thing about the picture. The prince began to walk on the bridge and to tap with his walking stick. The little pitcher jumped out and danced before him. He stared at it and fell sound asleep, but Ivan the cow's son, not relying upon his brother, went out himself. He walked on the bridge and tapped with his walking stick. The little pitcher jumped out and danced before him. Ivan the cow's son spat upon it and smashed it to smithereens once more. Suddenly, a duck quacked. The earth opened, the sea surged up, and out of the waves crawled Chudo Yudo, a sea monster. And really, Chudo Yudo, is it alive again, or is there another Chudo Yudo? And whistled and shouted with a mighty hiss in a truly powerful voice. "Magic steed, horse of my need, stand before me as leaf before grass." The steed ran out. The earth shook from his ears and nostrils rolled pillars of smoke. From his mouth a flame streamed. He stood before the dragon, rooted to the spot. Chudo Yudo, the 9-headed dragon. Oh, this is a 9-headed dragon. Oh, my. The 9-headed dragon sat upon him and rode to the white hazelwood bridge. As he rode upon the bridge, the steed stumbled under him. Stop moving pages, damn you. Chudo Yudo smote him on his great flanks. "Why do you stumble, carrion flesh? Do you scent a friend or an enemy?" "That is our enemy, Ivan the cow's son." "You lie! Even his bones were not brought here by a raven in a bladder, and he himself is certainly not here." "Ha, Chudo Yudo, sea monster!" answered Ivan the cow's son. "I have been walking here for 2 years. Well, Ivan, how did you 2 years? Oh, because in your time 2 hours is 2 years. Okay, that makes sense. Well, Ivan cow's son, have you come to woo my sisters or my daughters?" Who wants to woo a dragon's daughters and sisters? I don't know. Maybe they're really hot or something. Whatever. "I have come to meet you in the field, not to be your kin. Let us join in combat." Again, those silly Russians. Ivan the cow's son swung his battle mace and cut off 3 of the cow's heads as easily as if they had been cabbage heads. Okay, cool. He swung again and cut off 3 more heads. He swung a 3rd time and cut off the rest. He chopped the trunk into pieces and cast them into the Black Sea, hid the heads under the White Hazelwood Bridge, tied the steed to Prince Ivan's legs, and put the steel sword by his head. He himself went back to the little hut and lay down to sleep as though nothing had happened. Next morning Prince Ivan awoke, saw a steed even better than the first one, was overjoyed, rode on him, and cried, "Hey, Ivan the Cow's son, you told me not to look at the little pitcher, but God has given me a steed even better than the first one." He answered, "God has given you 2 steeds, and to me only a promise." Oh, that Ivan the Cow's son, he's so cool, isn't he? Let's see how cool he is on the 3rd night, when I'm sure he's going to be the one to watch the bridge. The 3rd night was approaching, and Burya Bogatyr, champion of champions, made ready to stand guard. He set up a table and lit a candle, thrust a knife into the wall, hung a towel on it, gave his brothers a pack of cards, and said, "Play cards, boys, and do not forget me. When the candle begins to run out, and when blood drips from this towel onto the dish, hasten to the bridge to aid me." Uh-oh. That's not a good sign. His brothers suck. Burya Bogatyr walked on the bridge, tapped with his walking stick. A little pitcher jumped out and danced before him. He spat upon it and smashed it into smithereens. Suddenly a duck quacked. The earth opened, the sea surged up, and out of the waves crawled Chudo Yudo, the sea monster. This time it was the 12-headed dragon. Oh dear, did not see that coming. Right. He whistled and shouted with a mighty hiss. In a truly powerful voice, "Magic steed, horse of my need, stand before me as leaf before grass." The steed ran out, the earth shook, from his ears and nostrils rolled pillars of smoke, from his mouth a fiery flame streamed. He ran to the dragon and stood rooted to the spot. Chudo Yudo sat upon him and rode to the bridge. When the steed stepped onto the bridge, he stumbled. "Why do you stumble, carrion flesh? Do you scent an enemy?" The dragon cried, "That is an enemy of ours. Burya Bogatyr, the cow's son." "Be quiet. The raven has not brought his bones here in a bladder." "You lie, sea monster. I have been walking here for 3 years. So wait, 3 days has become 3 years, whereas it used to be 3 hours. Time passes really strangely in Russia, especially when you're born to a cow. Well, Burya Bogatyr, do you want to marry my sisters or my daughters? I have come to fight you in the field, not to be your kin. Let us join in combat." "Ah, you killed my 2 brothers, so you think you can defeat me too? We shall see what God's will is. Now listen, Chudo Yudo, you have a horse and I am on foot. Let us agree that if either of us falls to the ground, the other must not strike him." Burya Bogatyr swung his battle mace and cut off 3 of the dragon's heads in one stroke. He swung again, and the dragon knocked him down. Oh, no. Burya! Where was I? Oh, yes, knocked him down. Cried Ivan the Cow's son, "Halt, Chudo Yudo! Our agreement was not to strike a man while he lay on the ground." Chudo Yudo let him get up. He rose, and at once 3 heads flew like so many cabbage heads. They began to struggle bitterly. They fought for several hours, till both grew exhausted. The dragon lost 3 more heads, and our hero's battle mace broke. Burya Bogatyr removed his left boot, flung it into the little hut, and knocked down half of it. But his brothers were asleep and did not hear him. He removed his right boot, flung it also. The little hut flew apart into balls, but still his brothers did not awake, the bastards. Burya Bogatyr took a fragment of his mace, hurled it at the stable where their 2 horses stood, and broke the stable door. The horses galloped onto the bridge and unsaddled the dragon. Our hero was overjoyed, ran up to the dragon, and cut off his remaining 3 heads. He chopped the dragon's body into pieces, cast them into the Black Sea, and stuck the heads under the White Hazelwood Bridge. Then he took the 3 horses, led them into the stable, and hid under the bridge without wiping the blood off it. In the morning his 2 brothers awoke and saw that the hut had crumbled to bits, and that the dish was full of blood. They went to the stable and found 3 horses. They wondered what had happened to their eldest brother. They sought him for 3 days, but did not find him. They said, "They must have killed each other, and their bodies have vanished. Let us go home." "You bastards!" They had saddled their horses and were making ready to go when Burya Bogatyr awoke and came out from under the bridge. "So you are deserting your companion, brothers?" he said. "I saved you from death, but you were asleep and did not come to my aid." Then they fell on their knees before him and said, "Forgive us, Burya Bogatyr, our eldest brother." "God will forgive you," he murmured over the little hut. "Be as thou wert before." The little hut reappeared, just as it was before, full of meat and drink. "Now, brothers," said Ivan the cow's son, "dine, for without me you might have starved to death. Then we shall set out." What a good brother. They dined and set out on their way. When they had gone 2 versts, Burya Bogatyr said, "Brothers, I forgot my riding crop in the little hut. Amble along while I go back to fetch it." He rode to the little hut, climbed down from his steed, and set him free in the sacred meadows, saying, "Go, my gentle steed, until I call thee." Then he changed himself into a fly, flew into the little hut, and sat on the stove. After a while, sat in and came down in the front corner. Baba Yaga, yes. Her young daughter-in-law came to see her and said, "Ah, mother, Burya Bogatyr, Ivan the cow's son, has killed your son, my husband, but I will revenge myself for this insult. I will precede him, send upon him a hot day, and turn myself into a green meadow. In this green meadow I will turn into a well. In this well a silver cup will float, and I will also turn myself into a timber bed. The brothers will want to feed their horses, to rest and drink water, and then they will be blown to bits like poppy seed." Her mother said to her, "That is what those evildoers deserve." "Why?" "Oh, well, I guess you'll do it." Should probably... yes. Let me get that cork. There we are. Nope, no hairs on it. Good. And back in the bottle it goes. Then her second daughter-in-law came and said, "Ah, mother, Burya Bogatyr, Ivan the cow's son, has killed your son, my husband, but I will revenge myself for this insult. I will precede him and turn into a lovely garden. Fruits of every description will hang above the fence, juicy and fragrant. They will want to pick them, each his favorite fruit, and then they will be blown to bits like poppy seeds." Her mother said, "You too have thought up a good revenge." Seems like all the revenges so far are just let's blow him up. Like poppy seeds. But I'm glad you're enjoying yourself, Jean. That's good to hear. The third and youngest daughter-in-law came and said, "Ah, mother, Burya Bogatyr, Ivan this cow's son, has killed your son, my husband, but I will revenge myself for this insult. I will turn into a little old hut. They will want to spend the night in it, but as soon as they set foot inside, they will be blown to bits like poppy seeds." Yeah, that's really original. First time, maybe, but just seemed like you were copying your sister, maybe. Perhaps. At least say sesame seeds or something. Change the seed. Or blown to bits like... No, they couldn't say stack of Legos. They didn't have Legos back then. All right, moving onward. "Well, my beloved daughters-in-law, if you fail to kill them yourselves, I will run in front of them tomorrow, turn into a sow, and swallow them all. See, there's something different." Burya Bogatyr heard these words while sitting on the stove and then flew outside. He struck the earth and turned into a good youth. He whistled and shouted with a mighty whistle, a powerful cry, "Magic steed, horse of my need, stand before me as leaf before grass." The steed ran out, the earth shook, Burya Bogatyr sat upon him and rode on. He tied a wisp of bast to a stick, overtook his companions, and said to them, "Here, my brothers, I cannot live without such a riding crop. Hey, brother, was it worth while to return for such trash?" He would have gone to town and bought a new one. And they rode on over steppes and through valleys, and the day was so hot that they could not bear it, and thirst tormented them. Hiccups all of a sudden, gosh. They came upon a green meadow, and in the meadow the grass was lush, and on the grass there was a timber bed. Brother Buriya Bogatyr, the younger two, said, "Let us feed our horses on this grass, and rest ourselves on the timber bed. There is also a well. Let us drink of the cool water." Buriya Bogatyr said to his brothers, "The well is amid the steppes and deserts. No one shall take water or drink from it." He jumped down from his good steed, began to smite and cut the well, and blood spattered out. Suddenly, wow, oh, that's gruesome. Suddenly the day became misty, the heat subsided, and they were not thirsty. "Now you see, brothers," he said, "how stale this water is. It is like blood." Probably because it is blood. I've never heard of anyone smiting a water well. But if it works, it works. Oh, by the way, the picture of the three brothers holding their balls. There you are. And balls of glass. Moving onward. This is a long story. Damn. Okay, only a few more pages, and then we're done. But still, this is a long story. They rode on farther. After a long time or a short time, who knows in Russia, they came to a beautiful garden. Prince Ivan said to the eldest brother, "Allow us each to pick an apple." Brothers, this garden is amid steppes and deserts. Perhaps the apples are old and rotten, and if you eat them, a disease may strike you. First, let me see." He went into the garden and began to smite and cut. He cut down all the trees, down to the last one. His brothers became angry at him for not doing what they wanted. They rode along and were overtaken by dark night. Soon they came to a hut. Brother Buriya Bogatyr, the younger brother, said, "Rain is beginning to fall. Let us spend the night in this hut." "Hey, brothers, let us pitch our tents and spend the night in the open field rather than in this hut. It is an old hut. Night in the open is an old hut, and if we enter, it may fall and crush us. Let me go and see." He entered the hut and began to cut it down, blood spattering out, and he said, you can see for yourselves what kind of hut this is, rotten through and through. Let us ride on farther." Not father, but father, with an R. So he's not calling any of them his dad. He's, let's go further. The brothers grumbled, but did not show their anger. They rode on farther. It's the same deal, yes. They didn't ride on their father, but I'll stop explaining now. Suddenly the path branched into two. Buriya Bogatyr said, "Brothers, let us take the left path." They said, "Take the path you want. We shall not go with you." And so they turned to the right and Buriya Bogatyr to the left. Buriya Bogatyr, Ivan the cow's son, came to the village. In this village 12 blacksmiths were working. As he cried, and he cried and whistled with a mighty whistle, a powerful cry, "Blacksmiths, blacksmiths, all of you come here." The blacksmiths heard him, and 12 of them ran to him. "What do you wish?" "Stretch an iron sheet around the smithy." In a trice they did it. "Forge 12 iron rods, blacksmiths, and heat the tongs red hot. A sow will come to you and say, 'Blacksmiths, blacksmiths, surrender the culprit. If you do not surrender the culprit, I will swallow you all with the smithy.' And you say, 'Ah, mother sow, take this fool from us. He has long been a thorn in our flesh. Only thrust your tongue into the smithy, and we will put him on your tongue.'" Buriya Bogatyr had no sooner given them this order than a huge sow came to them and cried in a loud voice, "Blacksmiths, blacksmiths, surrender the culprit." The blacksmiths answered in one voice, "Mother sow, take this fool from us. He has long been a thorn in our flesh. Only thrust your tongue into the smithy. We will put him on your tongue." It's like he knows the future. The sow was simple-minded and gullible. She thrust her tongue in a whole cubit's length. Buriya Bogatyr seized it with the red-hot tongs and cried to the blacksmiths, "Take the iron rods, thrash her soundly." They thrashed her until they bared her ribs. "Oh, fuck." "And now," said Buriya Bogatyr, "hold her fast. I will give her a treat." "Really? Okay." He seized an iron rod and smote her. Oh, that kind of treat. Breaking all her ribs in two, the sow began to implore him, "Buriya Bogatyr, let my soul repent." Buriya Bogatyr said, "And why have you swallowed my brothers?" "I will throw them up at once." He seized her by her ears. The sow vomited, and the two brothers... High guitar. And the two brothers jumped out with their steeds. Then Burya Bogatyr raised her, and with all his strength smashed her against the damp earth. The sow shattered into a myriad of evil spirits. Said Burya Bogatyr to his brothers, "Do you see, you fools, where you have been?" They fell on their knees, begging, "Forgive us, Burya Bogatyr, cow's son. Well, now let us set on our way. Nothing shall stop us." They came to a king. This is a long story. They came to a kingdom, to the Indian king, and pitched their tents in his sacred meadows. Hard to believe we came all the way this way from a king wanting to have kids. Anyway, in the morning the king awoke, looked through his spyglass, saw the tents, and summoned his prime minister, saying, "Go, brother, take a horse from the stable, ride to the sacred meadows, and find out what uncouth people have come there." I hid another yawn. Are you impressed yet? Pitched their tents without my permission, and made fires in my sacred meadows. The prime minister went to the brothers and asked, "What kind of people are you? Kings or princes or mighty champions?" Burya Bogatyr, the cow's son, answered, "We are very mighty champions. We have come to woo the king's daughter. Report to your king that he must give his daughter to Prince Ivan in marriage, and if he refuses, let him send an army." The king asked his daughter whether she would marry Prince Ivan. She answered, "No, father." Father as in dad this time, yes. "No, father, I do not want to marry him. Send an army." Straightway the bugles blew, the cymbals clashed, the troops gathered and went to the sacred meadows, and it was such a big host that Prince Ivan and Ivan the scullery maid's son took fright. At that moment Burya Bogatyr was cooking some gruel for breakfast and stirring it with a ladle. He went out, and with one swing of the ladle knocked down half the army. Wow, a soup ladle. Good on you. That's impressive. He went back, stirred his gruel, went out, swung again, and knocked down the other half. Damn, what a badass. Leaving only a one-eyed man and a blind man. "Tell your king," he said to them, "that he must give his daughter, Princess Maria, to Prince Ivan in marriage, and if he refuses, let him send another army and come with it himself." I'm sorry, but I'd be like, cool dude, if I found out about some guy who was stirring gruel, then swung the ladle and killed half my men, went back to stirring his gruel, and then swung and killed the rest of my men. That's just... No, thank you. I will not fight you. I will make you my son-in-law, and then you will kill my enemies for me, and I will rule a larger land. That is that. Hello, Amber! Or should I say, oh, there you are, Peter. You get a mighty, mighty huzzah! Oh, perhaps I should check the Facebook to see if I got any watches. Whoa, that's a lot of notifications. It's, wow. Nothing important. Nope. Just people liking things. I don't know why anyone likes what I post. It's all worthless dribble, isn't it? Mentioned me in a comment, did you? Man, I got mentioned in a lot of comments. Oh, I see Regina is watching as well. Hello, Regina, and huzzah! All right. It's okay that you're late. I understand falling asleep. It's a wonderful sensation, isn't it? All right. The one-eyed man and the blind man came to the king and said, "Your Majesty, Burya Bogatyr sent us to tell you that you must give your daughter to Prince Ivan in marriage." And he was frightfully angry and slew all our troops with a ladle. The king entreated his daughter, "My beloved daughter, please marry Prince Ivan." The daughter said, "We have no choice. I must marry him. Have a carriage sent for him." There we go. I post funny stuff on Facebook. I try. But I will leave that you post funny stuff up because, I will always put a comment up, right over here for you all to see, because if you, naturally, if you say good things about me, I want everyone to see them, so. Yes. Ah, here we are. The king forthwith sent a carriage and stood waiting before the gate. Prince Ivan came with his two brothers. The king received them courteously and kindly, with music and drums, and seated them at oaken tables covered with checkered tablecloths, on which were placed sweet viands and heady drinks. Then Burya Bogatyr whispered to Prince Ivan, "Mind you, Prince Ivan, when the princess asks you permission to leave for an hour, say to her, you may go even for 2 hours." After a while, the princess came to Prince Ivan and said, "Prince Ivan, permit me to go to another room to change my dress." Prince Ivan let her go. She went out of the chambers, and Burya Bogatyr followed behind her quietly. The princess struck herself against the porch, turned into a gull, and flew out to sea. Burya Bogatyr struck the ground, turned into a falcon, and flew after her, as, people tend to do in Russia. The princess came to the seashore, struck the ground, turned into a lovely maiden, and said, "Grandfather, grandfather, golden head, silver beard, let me speak to you." Her grandfather emerged from the blue sea and said, "My little granddaughter, what do you want? Prince Ivan is wooing me. I do not wish to marry him, but all our army is slain. Grandfather, give me 3 hairs from your head. I will show them to Prince Ivan and ask him to guess from what root comes this grass." His hair is like grass. Interesting. The grandfather gave her 3 hairs. She struck the ground, turned into a gull, and flew home. And Burya Bogatyr, see, I'm really good at hiding yawns, struck the ground, turned into the same lovely maiden, and said, "Grandfather, grandfather, come out again. I want to speak to you. I have forgotten to tell you something." The grandfather had no sooner stuck his head out of the water than Burya Bogatyr seized it and tore it off. "What? Why? Why did you just tear her grandfather's head off?" Oh my. That's not cool, man. He struck the ground, turned into an eagle, and came back to the palace ahead of the princess. He called Prince Ivan out to the entrance hall and said, "Prince Ivan, take this head. The princess will show you 3 hairs and ask you to guess from what root this grass comes. For answer, just show her this head." That is just fucking... fuck. Like, fuck. I don't have much to say to that. That's something else. It's a whole different level. A little later, the princess came to Prince Ivan, showed him the 3 hairs, and said, "Prince, guess from what root this grass comes. If you guess right, I will marry you. If not, do not hold it amiss if I don't." Prince Ivan took the head from under his coat and struck the table with it, saying, "Here is your root." The princess thought to herself, "They are brave knights." What? Things really are different in Russia. Then she said, "Please, Prince Ivan, let me change my dress in another room." Prince Ivan let her go. Are you going to go to like your other grandfather or something and get him killed too? She went on the porch, struck the ground, turned into a gull, and again flew out to sea. Burya Bogatyr took the head from the prince, went into the yard, struck the head against the porch, and said, "Where you were before, be now too." The head flew forth, came to the place ahead of the princess, and grew together with the body. Wow. Okay. This is yes, he does swear. This is so apparently you can just tell heads that you ripped off of people to go back from whence they came, and they will go back from whence they came. God, when you swear. Not often. Yeah. Indeed. Yes. The princess stopped at the seashore. You just thought I was being dramatic, didn't you? But actually I was yawning. Struck the ground, turned into a lovely maiden, and said, "Grandfather, grandfather, come out and speak to me." Her grandfather came out, saying, "My little granddaughter, what do you want? Was not your head in our palace?" "I do not know, granddaughter. I have been sound asleep." "No, grandfather, your head was there. Apparently it was torn off the last time you came here to speak to me." She struck the ground, turned into a gull, and flew home. She changed her dress, came back to the banquet hall, and sat beside Prince Ivan. The next day they went to the church to be lawfully wedded. After they returned, Burya Bogatyr led Prince Ivan to his bedroom, showed him 3 rods, one of iron, one of copper, and one of pewter, and said, "If you want to remain alive, let me lie with the princess in your place." Oh, is that so, Burya? The prince consented. The king led the young couple to their nuptial bed. At that moment, Burya Bogatyr took the place of the prince, lay down, and began to snore. The princess put one leg on him, then another, and began to smother him with a pillow. Burya Bogatyr jumped from under her, took the iron rod, and began to beat her. He beat her until he broke the rod. Then he took the copper rod and broke it too. Then he began to beat her with the pewter rod. The princess began to implore him and swore solemn oaths that she would never again try to do such a thing. Next morning, Burya Bogatyr rose, went to Prince Ivan, and said, "Now, brother, go and see how well I have chastised your wife. The 3 rods I have prepared are all broken. Now live happily together, love each other, and do not forget me." That was a weird story. A very long story. If there was a moral to it, I have no clue what it was. Either way, that was really long. So I think, as strange as it is, I'm going to call it with one story from the Russian fairy tales tonight, because that was like 40 minutes for one Russian fairy tale. It's like a chapter of Dracula. Not quite, but about. So, anyway, dear listeners / readers / viewers, I hope you enjoyed the story, and I hope you will join me again tomorrow night when we do read Dracula. I implore you, join me. Join me, join me. And also, tell your friends. So, Facebook, Storytime, 2 words, exclamation point at the end. Next, YouTube, Beepercorny1. Make sure you like this video, hit subscribe, and share it. Those Russians, indeed. Do get an original tonight. No, unfortunately, Amber, I did not prepare an original. However, Wednesday on the new poetry night, I will read an original poem. So there's that. And last but not least, Twitch. Brett doesn't game all one word. Pretty straightforward. So, without further ado, I bid you adieu. Good night, and much love. Good night. Until next time, you all, that being tomorrow, right around 10 o'clock, with Dracula.